Welcome to another episode of Think Out Loud. And this week, we're talking about the brain. So I found a very interesting website this week. I have always been interested in how the brain works and what makes you make decisions and how you think and how you can do two things at the same time, which actually you can't. Well, you can do two things at the same time, but you can't officially multitask as such. I find the brain really fascinating. I mean, it's what drives us to do everything: decisions, moving, thinking, breathing, smelling. So I found this website, which is 22 facts about the brain for World Brain Day. And this was written or posted in July 2019, so before the pandemic. I know, can you believe it? It's from a website called dentinstitute.com, so feel free to look that up, and this is a post which they've put out there on their website. And I came across this. I was doing a Google search about facts and interesting things about the brain, and I wanted to share a few of them because I found that they're quite interesting. Hopefully you do too. So the first one, as I was saying about multitasking, apparently multitasking is actually impossible. So we think that we are multitasking, but actually we are switching between those tasks. So we're going from one thing back to the other, back to the other. And so even if we've got multiple things on the go, we're doing a bit of each of those things at the time, which actually makes sense. But this is why people that claim multitasking is actually a productive thing are probably actually inaccurate, because you spend a lot of your time drifting between one thing and another and not completing one thing. And so possibly if you spent all your time focused on that one thing, you'd probably get it done and it would be more efficient. But let's test it out. Let's see how that goes. I might try that myself. Rather than flitting between lots of different things that I get distracted with, I'm going to earmark certain timings and say, right, I'm going to get this done first before I even answer any messages, respond to any phone calls, do anything else. I'm going to get that one particular task done. So that was the first one, which I found quite interesting. And then, as I said, there's 22 on this particular website. The other one, which I thought was quite astonishing, is that the brain is made up of approximately 75% of water. So majority of the brain is water. And so, wow, what does that mean? Who cares? Well, the interesting thing of this is that they say that even if you have a level of dehydration as small as 2% of that can have a negative impact on your brain function. So it's really important to keep yourself hydrated, because it will have a detrimental impact on your memory and your attention and your ability to actually function correctly. So if you're listening to this right now, go grab yourself a slurp of water to get that brain working as efficiently as it can be. So the next one was this one that I've heard this a number of times before, and this is about the fact that humans only use 10% of our brain, and that actually that is a complete myth. I don't know where it's come from. I actually might do a bit of research and find out where that has come from in the first place. But we use all of the brain, and even when we're asleep, we're using more than 10% of the brain, apparently. So, to all those people out there that thought that only a small part of their brain was working, I don't think that you'd be able to move, think, talk, breathe, all of these other things that we do, let alone do any tasks in the office on a day-to-day basis, if you're only using 10% of your brain, which is good to know. Good to know that it's not just a big bulk sat on top of our shoulders being wasted. So short-term memory, this is fascinating. our short-term memory lasts only about 20 to 30 seconds. And so this is how your brain stores information in the active part of the mind so that you're able to access it very quickly. And I think the terminology that's used is the working memory. So being able to repeat numbers or letters and things like this. And it talks about the fact that most people can hold a memory for numbers for around 7 seconds and letters, oddly enough, for around 9 seconds, which is odd. And the brain can store up to 7 digits in its working memory. So that's why telephone numbers originally in the US were 7 digits long. Who knew? So that you can actually remember what they are. So that's fascinating. Oh, well, I thought it was fascinating anyway. Now, I live, as you will have heard, by the beach. And one of the things which you see regularly there is small children getting brain freeze from ice cream. It's something actually I had a couple of family members down fairly recently when the weather kind of picked up a bit over the last month. And true to form, a young 10-year-old boy got brain freeze from a slush puppy, which actually a slush puppy, I would say, is worse than ice cream for giving you brain freeze. For anyone that doesn't know what brain freeze is, this is when you eat or drink something that is too cold and it gives you an instant headache, like a shooting pain through your brain. And actually, I'm going to try and pronounce what this is actually called now, which, forgive me, my pronunciation and reading skills, especially when it's a long word, is not great. But here we go. The sphenopalatine ganglioneuralgia. Anyway, that's what it's officially called. And this happens when you, as I say, when you eat or drink something that is too cold. Now, this is actually a warning signal that your body's going, don't do that. And probably not a great thing to do, although it seems to happen quite a lot, particularly in kids. It's when the blood vessels and the arteries at the very back of your throat, including the ones that actually take blood to your brain, they get too cold. So brain freeze is not a good idea. Although one tip that I have heard over my lifetime is if you put your tongue to the roof of your mouth, at the back of your mouth, the soft palate, if you do get brain freeze, that warms it up and it gets rid of the headache quite quickly. So that's a good tip. I've tried it and it did work. Let me know in the comments below if you're finding the same, if it works for you. Now, this one is a bit full on. Your brain is a random thought generator, as we may think, right? But in 2005, the National Science Foundation published an article regarding to research about the human thoughts per day. And on average, the average person has between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts per day. Wow. And of those, 95% are exactly the same repetitive thoughts as the day before. That has just blown my mind. And additional to that, as if that wasn't enough, this study suggests that 80% of those thoughts are negative. Wow, no wonder we feel down. No wonder we get depressed. No wonder we feel we're not good enough if all of these thoughts in our head are negative. So I'm going to focus on that 20% and say, right, let's focus on those good thoughts and those good things that are whooshing through my brain. Let's try and hang on to those ones. Hey, guys. Okay, exercise. Now, you may have heard this is something that I have heard a lot, and there's some TED Talks on it, and there's a number of different things that I have come across that all suggest that exercise is just as good for your brain as it is for your body. So this is particularly when it comes to aerobic exercise. So exercise which gets your blood pumping around the body, that gets your heavy breathing, taking deep breaths. Your pulse increases, so the increase of blood flow to your brain actually increases as well. So the oxygen going through your body and your brain is enhanced, and therefore it has a positive impact on the neurons in your brain. And this is why, and I would 100% agree with this. If you're feeling rubbish, if you're feeling down, you've maybe had a crappy day, the least thing that you want to do sometimes is go to the gym or go for a walk or go for a jog. Sometimes you just want to sit in front of TV and veg out. And you know what? Sometimes that's okay as well. But I think sometimes if you're in that frame of mind where you're feeling really rubbish, push yourself to do the gym thing or to go for a walk. I actually like jumping in the sea. As I say, I live like a 10-minute walk from the beach. So if I've had a real rough day, and sometimes, believe me, I don't feel like jumping in the sea at that particular time. But if I manage to do it, if I manage to jump in the sea after work, or if I manage to go to the gym, and even if it's 20 minutes on a cross trainer or walking on an incline on the treadmill or whatever it may be, get your heart pumping. It really makes me feel much better. I come out of there, although red-faced and feeling a little bit done over. let's be honest now. I actually feel better, mentally better. And fitter as well. So I think that's a really positive to take away. That's one of my positive thoughts out of my 20% for today. Okay, just a couple more just to run down. I know this is a bit of a longer one than normal, but hopefully you're finding it interesting. And this is about the brain activity in your brain creating actual electricity. So watts, right? 12 to 25 watts of electricity. So apparently your brain activity can power a small light bulb. Wow, isn't that amazing? And the information going from your arms and legs to your brain travels at a speed of, check this out, 150 to 260 miles per hour. Boo! That is fast. Although sometimes I think when I've just woken up, it's possibly not fast enough. Final one for the day, and I'm going to leave you on this note. It is, for me, coming on to the end of a working day, sleep is imperative. So number 22 on this article on the dentinstitute.com site, sleep is imperative. Your body and your brain require rest in order to function properly. Judgment, memory, and reaction time can all be impaired when someone does not have enough sleep. So if you are feeling tired, at the end of the day, try and relax. Try and not even think about getting sleep. I think when you think you want to go to sleep, like last night, I was trying to get sleep and it took me forever. When I'm tired enough, I just go to bed and I crash out. And I'm one of those lucky people that pretty much when my head hits the pillow, unless there's too much going on in my brain, I will fall asleep. Although I do tend to wake up at 4 or 4:30 in the morning and have random thoughts about what I need to do or things I'm worrying about or whatever. Or there's some pesky foxes in the garden which are causing me some troubles. That's a whole other story, but once you hear them scratching around, that's really distracting and prevents me from getting back to sleep. But the final note on this article, what I'm going to leave you for, is this: if you're feeling tired, go ahead and yawn. I can hear you yawning. Did you know that yawning cools down the brain, research suggests. So if you yawn, it cools down the brain. The brain can therefore reduce in temperature, which allows you to potentially get to sleep better. I will leave you with that. Have a lovely evening, and I'll speak to you soon for another episode of Think Out Loud. Good night.